Absolutely. Let me bring in quickly Mr. Vivek Menon into the conversation as well. Mr. Menon, I want to understand from your perspective, how do you view the fact that we now will be putting up a lot of our members of parliament in these towers instead of the big bungalows? And there's always been, in the past few years, or rather past few decades, we've seen that there has been a fight over allocation of land, the fact that yes, members of parliament do need some place to be in the national capital, but it needn't be in a sprawling bungalow. The point is to get the work done. And does this get the work done in your perspective?
So I think, the first look at these flats, I think they look like a big eyesore. I'm very sorry to say this, but the PW department or the seat PWD has absolutely no aesthetic when they build such things. To qualify, in fact, actually probably counter what Mr. Nalapad just said. This whole concept that, the inner circle of Delhi is colonial is, I think, a complete misnomer. I think the bottom line is that let's give credit where it's due. Even if the British did plan it, they planned it very well, and they kept the green cover that actually makes Delhi look what it is. You go to most of the urban metropolises today, come to Bangalore even, the reason that Bangalore looks so green and clean is because of the army. And the army has probably about 50 or 70% of the inner core of Bangalore, and that's why it looks so green. So to go and put these large 30-story eyesores that are they look like low-income housing to begin with. And I'm sorry to say this, but if there was a little bit more planning and aesthetic to it, it would have had a much greater appeal. So that doesn't have it. Now, coming to the fact that do MPs actually need 5,000 square foot lavish housing? I don't think so. They're there for about 60 to 70 days through the budget session, the monsoon session, and probably a winter session of parliament. Now, these housings are there for 365 days. Why does an MP need 365 days of housing in New Delhi? He's supposed to be back in his constituency, actually working for the people within his constituency, and that's what's happening today. MPs are never seen in their constituencies. They're not writing laws today. As you can see, the governance bills, the kind of debate that you're having in parliament, most MPs have, attendances less than 20%. You'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who has a higher attendance in parliament. And now what you're doing is you're giving them these lavish accommodations, 5,000 square feet. What is he, moving his entire family there? So that's just overkill, I think. Now, the government does claim that they were spending about 1,500 crores in rentals, but I'm not necessarily convinced about that. Now, what they could have done, so what's the solution to this? They could have had some kind of housing that was more of a hotel accommodation, probably larger suites, so that any MP who wanted to reserve it could reserve it. You could have 500 such rooms in beautifully designed housing, which had, probably conference rooms, places where they could congregate together, meet up, do all of that. Whereas to provide them with a flat in Delhi is just absurd. And with all due respect, the aesthetic of the CPWD flats that you just showed us is worse than DDA flats.
Okay, but Mr. Menon, we assume that, yes, you're right, that members of parliament, of course, they come from different constituencies across the nation, and therefore they're only in the national capital for some time. But we are then working on an assumption that they don't require offices or people to be constantly in New Delhi, running their office in New Delhi for them.
So to counter that, Karnataka Bhavan, all the states have their own bhavans, right? Where there are 15 to 20 rooms. Now, Karnataka has 28 MPs. Right? Now, you're going to give them 28 flats over there. Instead of that, you could have had, improve the different bhavans that we have. Or if you wanted them all to basically come together and stay together, you could have had some kind of shared housing. Today, everybody, in fact, even the private enterprises moving away from, large office spaces, and they're making best use of the current office spaces that they have through shared office spaces. That's the new norm. So to give them a 5,000 square foot apartment is just ridiculous in this thing. And I think, well, it may be a waste of money, but at the end of the day, it's already been done. But I think personally, the aesthetic of what we have today, when I've gone into Delhi, I've always admired the fact that, it has such great green cover. It has buildings that are just 1 and 2 stories. And if you wanted these flats, they could have been put somewhere else out. Like you go out to Dwarka, you look at, Gurugram today, they're all concrete jungles. And, the least semblance of a beautiful city that we have is the inner core of New Delhi. So